Zdravo svima! What's going on? It's the worst dressed guy on television. I know I look absolutely awful this morning, but you know what? It's 103 degrees outside here in Novi Sad, and I don't have air conditioning in this freaking apartment, man. So you don't get to see my hair done, my shaved, beautiful baby face, and a nice outfit. I always throw on the same fucking t-shirt when I do a video, but it's hot, man. You know, today I want to do something a little bit different. I want to read you a little story. There's a book that a friend of mine sent to me here. It's a book, a young lady, Jelena Ćurčić. This young lady is a Serbian. She lives in England, and her last name, it's a tough one to say, so forgive me for a second. Oh my god, this makes me look so unprofessional. Jelena Ćurčić, okay? She decided to take 20 old Serbian fairy tales from Vuk Karadžić. He was like the creator. He did a lot with the Serbian alphabet, and he also did a lot with Serbian fairy tales, you could say, okay? They say he was friends with the Brothers Grimm, which we all know, if you're from the West, you know a lot about, you know, the stories that the Brothers Grimm did. And I would read straight from this book because it's wonderful. Her brother, who lives down in, I think around Ivanica, somewhere around there, forgive me, he sent that to me. He was nice enough to send me a copy of it. She's been having some issues getting this book sold. So I'd love all of you Serbians to spend about $10 or whatever it is and buy this book for your kids if you're from the diaspora. This lady went out of her way. She did a wonderful, unbelievable translation of this. So much better than the story I'm going to read you online, because the book that he gave me, I put it in a little bag, and I went and I smoke a lot of nargila. So I went there for 3 or 4 days and read all of it, you know. And I wanted to do a story so I could show the book. I'm going to show the cover, and the info is going to be in the description. But I apologize, I'm not going to be able to read one that she wrote, but here's a Serbian fairy tale that's very similar. She did one like it, it's a little bit different, it's better, because she does a better translation. Anyhow, let's get started on this story. The story I'm going to read you today, just to give you an idea of what's in this book. This story is similar to like the Cinderella story, but with a little Serbian, Eastern European hint, twist, seasoning, spice to it. Okay, and the name of it is Papaluga, is what it is. So let's go, here we go. Opa. As some village girls were spinning whilst they tended the cattle grazing in the neighborhood of a ravine, an old man with a long white beard, so long a beard that it reached to his girdle, approached them and said, "Girls, girls, take care of that ravine. If one of you should drop her spindle down that cliff, her mother will be turned into a cow that very moment." Having warned them thus, the old man went away again. The girls, wondering very much at what he had told them, came nearer and nearer to the ravine and leant over to look in. Whilst doing so, one of the girls, and she was the most beautiful of them all, let her spindle fall from her hand, and it fell to the bottom of the ravine. When she went home in the evening, she found her mother. Her mother had changed into a cow, standing before the house. And from that time forth, she had to drive this cow to the pasture with the other cattle. In a little time, the father of the girl married a widow who brought her with her into her home, her own daughter. The stepmother immediately began to hate the stepdaughter because the girl was incomparably more beautiful than her own daughter. She forbade her to wash herself, to comb her hair, or to even change her clothes, and sought every possible way to torment and scold her. One day she gave her a long bag full of hemp and said, "If you do not spin all this well and wind it, you need not return home, for if you do, I shall kill you." The poor girl walked beside the cattle and spun as fast as she possible. But as midday, seeing how very little she had been able to spin, she began to weep. When the cow, her mother, saw her weeping, she asked her what was the matter, and the girl told her all about it. Then the cow consoled her and told her not to be anxious. "I will take the hemp in my mouth and chew it," she said. "It will come out of my ear as thread, so that you can draw it out and wind it up at once upon a stick. And so it happened. The cow began to chew the hemp, and the girl drew the thread from her ear and wound it. So at this very soon they had quite finished the task. When the girl went home in the evening and took all the hemp worked up to her stepmother, she was greatly astonished, and the next morning gave her yet more hemp to spin and wine. When at night she brought home ready, the stepmother thought she must be helped by some other girl, her friends. Therefore the third day she gave her much more hemp than before. But when the girl had gone with the cow to the pasture, the woman sent her own daughter after her to find out who was helping her. The girl went quietly towards her stepsister so as not to be heard, and saw the cow chewing the hemp and the girl drawing the thread from the ear and winding it. So she hastened home and told all of it to her mother. Then the stepmother urged the husband to kill the cow. At first he resisted, but seeing his wife would give him no peace, he at last consented to do as she wished, and fixed the day on which he would kill it. As soon as the stepdaughter heard this, she began to weep, and when the cow asked her why she wept, she told her all about it. But the cow said, "Be quiet, do not cry. Only when they kill me, take care not to eat any of the meat, and be sure to gather all my bones and bury them behind the house. And whenever you need anything, come to my grave, and you will find help." So when they killed the cow, the girl refused to eat any of the flesh, saying she was not hungry, and afterwards carefully gathered all the bones and buried them behind the house, on the spot the cow had told her. The real name of the girl was Mary, but as she had worked so much in the house, carrying water, cooking, washing dishes, sweeping the house, and doing all sorts of housework, and had very much to do about the fire and cinders, her stepmother and half-sister called her Papaluga. One day the stepmother got ready to go with her own daughter to church, but before she went, she spread over the house a full basket of millet, and said to her stepdaughter, "You Papaluga, if you do not gather up all the millet and get this dinner ready before we come back from church, I'll kill you." When they had gone to church, the poor girl began to weep and say to herself, "It is easy to see after the dinner, I shall soon have that ready, but who can gather up all this quantity of millet?" At that moment she remembered what the cow had told her, and that in case she needed, she would go to her grave and would there find help. So she ran quickly to the spot, and what do you think she saw there? On the grave stood a large box full of valuable clothes of different kinds, and on top of the box sat 2 white doves, who said, "Mary, take out this box, the clothes which you like best, and put them on and go to church. Meanwhile, we will pick up the millet seeds and put everything in order." The girl was greatly pleased and took the first clothes which came to her hand. These were all of silk, and having put them on, she went away to church. In the church, everyone, men, women, wondered how such a beauty, at her beauty and her splendid clothes. But no one knew who she was, whence she came. The king's son, who happened to be there, looked at her all the time and admired her greatly. Before the service had ended, she stood up and quietly left the church. She then ran away home, and as soon as she got there, took off her fine clothes and laid them in the box, which instantly shut itself and disappeared. Then she hurried to the hearth and found the dinner quite ready and all the millet gathered up and everything in good order. Soon the stepmother came back with her daughter from the church and was extremely surprised to find all the millet picked up and everything so well arranged. Next Sunday, the stepmother and her daughter again dressed themselves to go to church, and before she went away, the stepmother threw much more millet about the floor, and she said, "Stepdaughter, if you do not gather up this millet, prepare the dinner, and get everything in the best order, I shall kill you." When they were gone, the girl instantly ran to her mother's grave and found the box open as before, with the 2 doves sitting on the lid. The dove said to her, "Dress yourself, Mary, and go to church. We'll pick up the millet and arrange everything." Then she took the box, put on silver clothes, and having dressed herself, went to church. In the church, everyone as before admired her very much, and the king's son never moved his eye from her. Just before the end of the service, the girl again got up quietly, stole through the crowd. When she got out of the church, she ran quietly, took off the clothes, laid them in the box, and went to the kitchen. When the stepmother and her daughter came home, they were surprised than ever. The millet had been gathered up, the dinner was ready, and everything in the very best order. They wondered very much how it was all done. On the 3rd Sunday, the stepmother dressed herself to go with her daughter to church and again scattered millet on the ground, but this time far more than the other Sundays. Before she went out, she said to her stepdaughter, "If you do not gather all this up, prepare dinner, and have everything in order when I come home from church, I'll kill you." The instant they were gone, the girl ran to the grave, found the box open with 2 white doves. The doves told her to dress herself and go to church, and to have no care about the millet and dinner. This time she took the clothes of real gold out of the box, and having put them on, went away to church. In the church, all the people looked at her and admired her exceedingly. Now the king's son had resolved not to let her slip away as before, but to watch where she went. So when the service was nearly ended and she stood up to leave the church, the king's son followed her, but was not able to reach her. In pushing through the crowd, however, Mary somehow in a hurry lost a slipper from her right foot and had no time to look for it. The slipper the king's son found and took care of it. When the girl got home, she took off the golden clothes and laid them on the floor and went immediately to the fire to the kitchen. The king's son, having determined to find the maiden, went all over the kingdom to try the slipper on every girl. But in some cases it was too long, in others it was too short, and in fact it did not fit any of them. As he was thus going about from one house to the other, the king's son came at last to the house of the girl's father and the stepmother. Seeing the king's son coming, hid her stepdaughter in a wash trough before the house. When the king's son came in and the slipper was asked if there were any girl in the house, the woman answered yes, and brought out her own daughter. But when the slipper was tried and it was found it would not go on even on the girl's toe, then the king's son asked if no other girl was there. The stepmother said, no, there's no other woman in this house. At that moment the cock sprang up from the wash trough and crowed out, cock-a-doodle-doo! Here she is under the trough. The stepmother shouted, go away, may the eagle fly away with you. But the king's son, hearing that, hurried to the wash trough, lifted up, and what did he see there? The same girl who had been there in the church in the same golden clothes in which she had appeared the third time before him, but lying under the trough and with only one slipper on. When the king's son saw her, he nearly lost his senses for the moment. He was so very glad. When he quickly tried to place the slipper on, he carried on her right foot and it fitted her exactly. Besides perfectly matching with the other slip, he took her away with him to his palace and they were married there. That's Papaluga, similar to Cinderella in the Brothers Grimm in our culture. So you can see a little bit of difference. Her translations are so much better. I'm going to put all the descriptions here, but I want to show you the cover of the book before I shut this long video off. Here's the cover of the book. Okay, see that says Serbian Fairy Tales. You can see this over here. A wonderful, intriguing collection given as exquisite insight in the enchanting world of Serbian folklore. You can also, what she did really well in her translations, she's got a lot of footnotes at the end of the stories, and they're short stories, maybe some of them are 15 pages. At the end of it, she's got little footnotes that explain everything, some of the words that you wouldn't be familiar with. Great thing for the diaspora, great thing for anybody that's interested. She went out of her way, put a lot of investment in this book, so we all need to go out and buy it. I'm going to put the links in the title, okay? Pozdrav svima.